Okay, ladies and gentlemen of Algebra B, welcome. This is where we're finishing off Unit 5. It's talking about solving quadratics. Hopefully you remember a little bit about quadratics. So what we're trying to do is figure out what is the best method of solving a quadratic. So kind of what attack plan here. So 3 ways to do it. One, I can graph it, which is probably the most inefficient way to do it. I can factor or use a zero product property, which is what everybody needs to be really, really good at. Or I can use quadratic formula. Quadratic formula, if you're good with it, will get you exactly your answers every single time. But there's a couple things you got to remember when you do that. So looking ahead, zero product property uses the x, and this is where the sum is on top and the product's on the bottom. Quadratic formula, ax squared plus bx plus c. That's where you get a, b, and c to use in there. So factoring doesn't work. If factoring doesn't work, then you need to use the quadratic formula. If you do a quadratic formula and somehow you get a negative under the radical, so you get like a -7 underneath the radical, that is your clue that there are no real solutions. There are what we call imaginary solutions, but there are no real solutions. So using zero product property, you're looking here. So here's where you're setting up your x. You're going to go 9 in the top, 20 in the bottom. So now, what multiplies to 20 adds up to 9? Well, 4 and 5. So zero product, or factoring this, just becomes x plus 4, x plus 5. Now, zero product property says, if I have two things that multiply to 0, I set each part equal to 0. So x plus 4 equals 0, and then I have x plus 5 equals 0. So solving just becomes, well, x equals -4, x equals -5. Oop, wrong button. X equals -5. There's my answers. Using quadratic formula. Same idea, except now I'm going to use a little different way, using different kind of form of attack here. So a equals 1, b equals 9, c equals 20. So setting it up goes negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, except a and c are now 1 and 9 all over 2 times a, which is going to be just 2 times 1. So what I need to do here is this. It becomes one big kind of letter in order of operations. So I get -9 plus or minus. Then I got to do everything underneath here. So this is going to be 81 minus 36. So 81 minus 36. Oh, sorry, this is going to be 81. Shouldn't be 9. My fault. This shouldn't be 9. What am I doing? This should be 20. So it should be 80 over minus 81, so that's going to be 1 over 2. So my answer, square root of 1 is just 1. So I'm going to have -9 plus or minus 1 over 2. So -9 plus 1 is -8, divided by 2 is going to be -4. -9 minus 1 divided by 2 is going to be -5. So there's my two answers, which should match up with the ones on the other side. So now notice, on the graph, where does it cross the x-axis? Well, it crosses right at 4, and the other one crosses right at 5. That's not a coincidence. That's what's supposed to happen. So here, x squared plus 10x minus 24, zero product property, well, 10, -24, that's going to give me, multiplies to -24, but adds up to 10. Well, a lot of kids will put like 6 and 4. Problem is 6 and 4 doesn't give me -24. That would give me a positive 24. So here's what you got to remember. You got to go 12 and -2. 12 and -2 are going to be my winners. Now, So now it becomes x plus 12, x minus 2 equals 0. So each part equals 0. So it's going to be negative 12 or positive 2. Quadratic formula, same thing, except now a will be 1, b will be 10, c will be negative 24. Bring your signs with, all right? So negative b, negative 10, plus or minus square root 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times a negative 24. It's a negative 24, all over 2 times 1. So negative 10, or negative 10 stays, plus or minus. Um, 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 24. So 24 times 4 plus 100, because when I do that, that becomes all positive 196 all over 2. Square root of 196 is going to be 14. So I'm going to have negative 10 plus or minus 14 all over 2. So negative 10 plus 14 is going to be 4 divided by 2 is going to give me positive 2. Negative 10 minus 14 is negative 24 divided by 2 is negative 12. So my answers match up there. So when I look at the graph, boom, positive 2, negative 12. Now here's where things get a little bit trickier. Zero product property, this is where I've got to take a times c first. Okay, so doing the x, get 3 on the top, get negative 8 on the bottom. Nothing works here. What multiplies to negative 8 but adds up to 3? Well, not much, because my only really factors here are going to be 4 and 2, or negative 2 and 4, negative 4 and 2. That doesn't work. So I've got to use quadratic formula here to see what I got. So look in here, negative b, well, here's a, here's b, here's c. Bring your signs. So you got to go negative 3 plus or minus square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 4 all over 2 times 2. All right, so negative 3 plus or minus square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 4 all over 4. So that's going to be, let me rewrite up here, negative 3 plus or minus square root of 3 squared is 9, minus 16 times 2 is 32. So I end up with 9 minus 4 times 2 times negative 4, and that's going to give me 41. Now, 41 is not a perfect square. In fact, 41. In fact, if you left it like this, I wouldn't count it wrong. But just for argument's sake, let's get an answer here. Let's get a decimal answer. So this becomes negative 3 plus or minus 6.403 all over 4. So using the calculator to do most of the legwork, I get about 0.85. Negative 3 minus 6.40312 divided by 4 gets negative 2.35. So as decimals, there's your answer. If you want to leave it like this algebraically, fine. So when you look just to pass negative 2 at 0.85, there's my answer. All right, so football field for Halloween, one team's pumpkin has a trajectory of that. Pick a method, find out how long it takes to hit the ground. So you're starting at the ground, you're launching to the ground. So negative 16t plus 72t equals h. You're trying to figure out where does h equal 0. So negative 16t squared plus 72t equals 0. So everybody always loves to forget the first rule of factoring. First rule of factoring is pull out what's in common. So I know there's a t in common, but check and see what else is in common between 72 and negative 16, because I'm pretty sure you can pull out an 8 too. So that gives me negative 2t plus 9 equals 0. So 8t equals 0. Using zero product property, 8t equals 0, or negative 2t plus 9 equals 0. So divided by 8, guess what? T is 0. This represents the start. Okay, this represents the pumpkin's loaded, it's on the ground, it's waiting to be chucked. This is going to tell me how long it's going to take to land. So if I solve this one, so negative 2t equals negative 9, so t is going to equal positive 4.5. So the pumpkin's going to be in the air for 4.5 seconds, and that's how long it's going to take to land. All right, that's all I've got. Come talk to me with questions, play around with this, and come talk to me about using your calculator to help do most of this for you.